There's something that I'd like to say before we begin. Tsumi took a seat on the bed. Go ahead. She urged me towards a nearby chair with a wave of her hand. I leaned against the chair in front of the desk. So what was it that you wanted to say? This is FIA, Specified Psychiatric Hospital for Isolation in Aegis. Is that clear to you? That much I'd know, even if you hadn't told me. No, you don't understand the first thing about it yet. It's a facility that houses people diagnosed with mental disorders. In short, the people here are... Oh, nut jobs, you say? That's right. Saying this might be somewhat rude, but I have to say it anyway. I personally have my doubts as to whether the three of you actually have mental disorders. That goes for Inabushi, Kaiko, and Uni as well. Firstly, it would be fair to say the same for your standpoint. For the four of us here, including me, there's a possibility that we all suffer from mental disorders and... Sorry, but I don't really get what you're saying. What I'm trying to say is, don't trust anybody. Inabushi Kaiko's words, Uni's words, and your words. And indeed my own words as well, anyone's. You can't assert that there's any truth to anyone's words. Wait a minute. I can understand you're not being able to trust us. But why mustn't I trust Uni's words or even your own words? And isn't it a bit strange for you to tell someone he shouldn't necessarily believe you in the first place? All I'm trying to do is tell you to look ahead. Look ahead? I suspect that you will sooner or later come to doubt my words. Tsumi Kali may have a mental disorder too, that thought might cross your mind. And if that happens, you'd have to go back and reanalyze every single thing you've heard me say. It'd be quite a nuisance, wouldn't it? That's why I've decided to warn you in advance. What I say, what I inform you now, may not necessarily be restricted to the truth. Do you understand? That's probably a talk to the player. Like, don't trust anything anyone says. Well, it's okay, even if you don't understand it now. Anyway, let me repeat myself. Don't trust anyone anymore. Anything anyone says here. Every last one of us, it'd be better if you thought of us as liars. And since this is what we are, the things we say may end up being fibs, misconceptions, or even deliberate deception. However, try not to get distracted by that, okay? I want you to have the composure to accept it as it is. I want you to always remain calm. Got that? Remember, this is instrumental to you in keeping your sanity. You accept this? I see. Though I find it difficult to completely understand what you're saying. Well, I think I'll take your advice as it stands. I won't believe a word you say, and you in return are free to view me as a liar. So if we all doubt one another, we'll end up building a sort of mutual trust. Is that it? Broad smile. Her face lit up and she nodded slightly. Now then, shall we begin? Contradictory in the seriousness of the subjects, our talk now began with playful words. It was a long talk. As it stretched on, it grew in complexity as well as length. More and more overlapping subjects were now becoming obvious. And I asked my questions, I constantly reshuffled the answers in my head. As far as I could tell, our discussions boiled down to this. About me, Yukidoh Satoru. Tsumi and Uni seem to think I have DID. A fact I'd very much like to deny, but it seems difficult to test or refute it under the circumstances. So for the time being, as a temporal measure, I decided to go along with the assumption. I have no idea what Inabushi thinks of me right now. However, sooner or later, the news of my condition will become known of her. Tsumi and maybe Uni will surely inform her of it. Hey there, Yukidoh-kun, DID, right? We're the same, aren't we? There's no stopping that, so I realized I just have to accept it. Tsumi, Uni, Inabushi, the three of them will inevitably come to view me as having DID. It's not like I particularly care. Compared with all the other problems in my mind, that wasn't really a big deal. Now, amongst the myriad of other things really bothering me was this, and Uni pointed it out some time ago. Why did Tsumi act so calmly to that me with DID claiming to be Fuyukawa Cocoro? She clearly knew about Fuyukawa Cocoro being caught in the avalanche with her husband, Yomogi Saiji. When I tried to deceive her with the name of a person who knew, she knew as a matter of course you'd expect her to react with a healthy dose of repulsion. In her own words, yes, it certainly was a shock at first. Although shock is rather an understatement, I really did think you were lying. And then I instantly slapped you. My apology a little while ago was for that. I was mistaken about you, Yukidoh-kun. Therefore I'm sorry. However, she said it doesn't bother her anymore. Why is that? It also seems that Tsumi knew I'd gone out with Lin, thanks to a mysterious document. A matter of which I shall touch upon later, but in any case, Tsumi trusted that document with 100% certainty. This is how she put it. Yukidoh-kun, deep within your heart, you still feel strongly for me and Tsumi, but she has long since left this world. She died on the 17th of January last year. It's painful to accept such a reality, so you try not to admit it. But inside yourself, the thought of bringing about a world Maizumi still alive, even if it was just within you, lives on. However, creating an image of her in your world, in your mind, just won't do it for you. Thus your purpose isn't to conjure up such an image, but a false reality, so to speak, where it's a fact that Maizumi-kun, or some, is alive. So trying to be logical and consistent as you could, you desperately tried to produce the world within your mind. Tried to cheat yourself, to make it believable. You sought out and found a third personality, not Maizumi-san, nor yourself. So who would you choose? Someone who could personally be able to change the sad reality. It would be easiest for you to take on the role of one of the survivors who was caught in the avalanche, it didn't matter who. And the one you chose was Fuyukawa Cocoro, it seems. By that was just Itsami's explanations. I had a different opinion. Lin and I parted ways over 18 months ago. It may be a bit cold to say this, but by the time of the accident, I simply didn't love her as much as I did before. Of course, losing her was sad. Sad, but certainly not to the point where it would cause me to develop a personality disorder. Consequently, I couldn't accept Itsami's claims. I did agree with certain parts of it, but at any rate, that's how it was. That was just Itsami's personal interpretation anyway, one which I quickly decided to disregard. Her strange advice in the introduction, don't trust another's words, had helped me a lot with this matter. Next, about my amnesia. I decided to be frank and told Itsami my following. I have no recollection of any events except for a select few from the time of my birth up until now. Strictly speaking, my memories begin the moment I began having dreams about the mountain cabin. I can hardly remember anything that happened before that, but somehow there were other things that I hadn't forgotten. Hereafter, I will list my most important memories. First, my own name. My name is Yukidoh Satoru. I'm 21 years old. Today is Wednesday, January 11th, 2012 AD. I am in Sphere, the specified psychiatric hospital for isolation in Nagus. The layout of Sphere is also roughly inscribed in my mind. I'm more or less familiar with my current surroundings. The people here at Sphere are Inabushi Kaiko, Itsami Kali, and me. According to the memory, only the three of us should be here. Uni must be a special case. Inabushi Kaiko is DID. After the incident in Naruzumi, she was institutionalized here. I know the full story of the tragedy that occurred in the hospital. I'll leave Uni and Tsumi for later. Next up, we have Mount Cocoro, the crash of Hell 18 last year, and 3 survivors who were later buried in the avalanche. Those facts are clearly etched into my memory. The people in the shelter, Yomogi Seiji, Fuyukawa Cocoro, Maizumi Lin, and Kasuda Uni. Yomogi and Itsumi's husband, and a mountaineer. Cocoro is a third-year student at Kyumakai's Women's University. Maizumi Lin, it will take forever to try and list the things I remember about her. The fact that we were growing out several episodes in our relationship, some noteworthy conversations, and so on. Sometimes I feel like I remember more about Lin than I do about myself. I know all there is to know about her. Lin was a very important person. So that should be just about everything I can remember. Now then, this time, let's line up the things I forgot, or perhaps didn't know to begin with. First of all, I said before prior to the dream of the mountain cabin I remember nothing. When I was born, what my childhood was like, how I'd lived up until now. I don't even remember my parents. How about something more recent? How long have I been in Sphere? Why am I here? Why? What for? What's my goal here? The only possibilities that sprung to my mind were that I was a patient here or a staff member. When I asked Tsumi about this, you must have been a member of staff, but I'm not sure anymore. Perhaps you've been a patient here from the start. Just like that, she said something that only added to my unnecessary confusion. Let's move on. I know a lot about Inabushi Kaiko as well. On the other hand, Itsumi and Yumi are still a mystery to me. Why is Itsumi in Sphere? The way she put it here, I'm working here as a psychiatrist. But those words now lack credibility. Since she herself instructed me to not trust anyone, I decided to just do that regarding this matter. I can't disregard the possibility of Itsumi being a patient here. What about Uni? Why is he here? Our conversation on the matter went along these lines. I don't know, he just suddenly showed up. Suddenly showed up? I think it was sometime after 5 in the evening, when I noticed that Unicorn was here. That's ridiculous. Facility isn't a place that someone from the outside could simply stroll in and out of, right? I know that just as well as you. What else can I say? He was just there. That's truly absurd. Suni seemed to think so as well. Of course, I thought it was suspicious. Kept my guard up just in case he was plotting something. It's only natural, right? He's the only survivor of the plane crash. Who then suddenly shows up just like that in front of me? Me, a family member of one of the victims. For example, what if Uni-kun had been transported to the sphere as a patient, without me knowing? Wouldn't that be strange? Wouldn't you normally think it's weird? After Itsumi's voiced all the doubts I myself had been having, she continued. But you know what? That one document solved everything. Since both the source and the author are unknown, I guess it belongs to the class of documents you couldn't use as a reference or return paper. But what is a document? It's basically a collection of huge amount of text files stored on the terabyte disk. Terabyte disk? You mean the one Uni's carrying? Yes. What kind of things are on them? Kasuda Uni exists to exist. Well, I mean, okay. Huh? Of course, not only that. The fact that Yukidoh-kun and Meizumi-san were once lovers. The fact that Yukidoh-kun has dissociative identity disorder. As for the rest of it, I call it nothing short of a prophecy, spanning many gigabytes. Things that only I or only Uni could possibly know were there, spelled out in black and white. How, here and there, whoever made this was even cautious enough to attach a video pertaining to the content in the text. So I came to believe that the things mentioned there were true. I couldn't help but believe them, despite not knowing who wrote it. Why? That's triviality. If you read it too, I think you will agree. In the end, the matter of Uni had been left unsettled. Kasuda Uni exists or exists. I couldn't understand anything until I saw the contents of the disk. I'll try borrowing it from Uni later. That said, I'll temporarily put the investigation. Put the investigation on what? Into the mystery of Unihorn. Okay. Now then, let's continue. The continuation of the list of things forgotten by me. I tried to think about the people in Mount Cocoro. There were so many things related to Cocoro and Yomogi that I didn't know, which was reasonable. I could only remember them as the victims caught in the avalanche along with Lin. Well, come to think of it, I can't really say that I remember everything about Lin either. I remember a lot about when we were dating, but I'd forgotten something quite important, namely the beginning and the end. In other words, how and why we started dating and why we broke up. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't remember. Had we really gone out? I doubted that. However, I can't remember what I can't remember. I decided it would be better to give up on that line of thought. That was roughly all the contents and the memories. Incomprehensible indeed. There seemed to be no rhyme or reason as to what I remembered and what I had forgotten. The more I thought about how irrational it was, the more worried I became. Tsumi had this to say. Your condition certainly differs from typical amnesia, and it's nothing I've ever seen before, so I can't really tell. But perhaps your existence right now may be the result of a brand new personality born within the world. If you think about it that way, it would explain why you have no memories of the past. The fragmentary memories popping up here and there may be directly linked to the original Yukidoh-kun. If I'm not mistaken, you woke up here in Sphere about an hour and a half ago, right? If that's so, Yukidoh-kun, the current you, the one I'm talking to, is special existence, one that gave its first birth cry a mere 90 minutes ago. Of course, it was just a possibility, but my personality was born 90 minutes ago. Wouldn't that mean that I didn't exist before? That's nonsense, it couldn't be. I was about to lose my temper and I started thinking about how I would prove her wrong, even if it cost me my life. But to my regret and dismay, I could find no words to object to her statement with. The mere fact of my being here would surely imply the need for my identity to have a consistent past in history. But nevertheless, I just can't accept her reasoning. I most certainly have a past in history. I might have had no basis for it right there, but I certainly felt a strong need to persuade myself of this. And so our talk ended. Tsumi also summed up the events that happened today for me. Up until this evening, I'd been just another calm, ordinary day of everything proceeding as usual. And then, just after 4 PM, during the raging blizzard, a bolt of lightning struck Sphere's clock tower. Of course, since Tsumi didn't go outside, she couldn't say that she'd witnessed the scene firsthand, but she had experienced the sound of lightning hitting the tower, the shock that followed, and the flash from the other side of the window. Incidentally, at the same time, Tsumi had also witnessed a far more shocking scene. As the lightning bolt struck, Tsumi was in the living area looking outside the window. In the darkness, a pale flash illuminated the surroundings. At that moment, at the exact instant, you fell from the sky. I fell from the clock tower alongside the bolt of lightning. The living area's window looked out into the roofless terrace. This terrace was covered with a layer of snow about a meter thick. The snow had acted as a cushion, aiding my escape from death. Tsumi dug me out of the snow and carried me to the bedroom I woke up in. At that moment, needless to say, I was unconscious. Around 5 PM, though it was mentioned before, Tsumi found Uni inside Sphere. The discovery took place in one of the rooms supposedly vacant till then. She'd heard an odd noise and had opened the door to find a lone boy crouching on the floor. Sumi was bewildered. Why is Cocoro Uni here? She was puzzled, feeling something aching to fear. So she didn't try talking to him. Around 8 p.m., Sumi visited my room to check up on me. Sumi said I introduced myself as Fuyukawa Cocoro. That combined with Uni's sudden and unexplained appearance caused her to suddenly lash out. She slapped me, yelled, "Stop messing around," and left the room. Afterwards, according to Uni, I looked in the mirror and went berserk. Sumi, who had heard the scream, rushed in and injected with me with a sedative. Just like Inabushi a short while ago, I fell asleep in an instant. Sumi and Uni then read through the contents of the mysterious terabyte disk. Then around 9 p.m., I opened my eyes as me in existence. Well, whoops. I opened my eyes at me, in existence with the consciousness of Yukidoh Satoru. Since I'd remember everything from that point on, there was no need for her to continue. Then Itsami's long story ended. As I finished listening to it, I felt very refreshed. Of course, there was still a mountain of things I didn't understand. But the things I didn't understand and the things I did understand, for me being able to make that distinctive felt like a huge leap forward. With this, I have told you everything I know. Now then, next is Unicorn's turn. Will you go calling for me? Sumi stood up and walked to the door. She put her hands on the doorknob. I too stood up from the chair, but I stopped just before leaving the room. There was still something bothering me. What caused my DID? We already know that. Why did I climb up the clock tower? Can I just ask one last thing? Of course. Why did I even go up to the clock tower in the first place? You don't remember that either? That's right. And the reason you fell from the clock tower? I don't know. Ah. It's Sumi-san. Do you know something? No. Last time I saw you, if I recall correctly, was around 3:30. I just saw you from behind going down the stairs in the living area. Going down the stairs? Have you remembered something? No, nothing. I shook my head, my mouth I'm slackening into a self-derisive grin. That door in the basement, is that a way into the clock tower? Will that all be for now? Please call Unicorn for me. You've been a big help. Thank you for telling me all these things. Expressing my gratitude from the bottom of my heart, I left the room. Alright, just as I stepped into the living area, I heard a voice call out to me again. I turned around to see Itsumi on the other side of the open door where I'd last seen her. Yukidoh-kun, sorry to ask you, but could you please put away those cups on the table for me? A gentle smile calmed my mind immediately. There truly is a soothing force that transcends. Yeah, I got it. I returned a smile. Thanks. The smile broadened even further. An ordinary exchange of ordinary words and courtesies. But right now, even ordinary words like those feel so incredibly precious to me. I headed towards the kitchen on steps as light as a feather. It took you forever. Uni sighed, sounding tired. Resting his chin in his hands, he looked at me with drowsy eyes from across the table. What'd you talk about? Well, this and that. Itsumi-san's waiting for you in there. She told me to send you in. Oh, gotcha. With that lackadaisical answer, Uni left his seat. Swaying on his feet like a drunk, he headed towards Itsumi's room. After I watched him go, well then, let's get this cleaned up. I lifted 3 cups left on the table with 3 of my fingers. Cups in hand, I walked towards. The hold with my 3 fingers had on the hands were rather precautious. And we're gonna switch. Yep, the cups slipped right out of my hands. Because I remember when Cocoro went back, there were smashed cups. So... separation. Alright, I'm gonna go back because there are quite a few choices there that I want to do. Oh, don't just go declaring other people mentally ill, I said to her. Sure, my thoughts and my memories are a mess, but that doesn't mean people have to perceive me like that. To me, my actions and decisions made perfect sense. In other words, while it's true that I may seem strange to others right now, that's just because of what's happening to me. All my thoughts and actions are still based on consistent, sensible logic. There are no contradictions within me. If any were to be found observed by others, then the cause would surely have come from outside. Let me ask you. Tsumi sat up straighter before continuing. Yukidoh-kun, why did you call yourself Fuyukawa-kun? I never said that. Oh, but you did, didn't you? Uni-kun heard it too. Yeah. But I don't remember anything like that. I don't remember. Well, I think that says it all. Anyway, if you really aren't aware of it, then forcing you to accept it immediately isn't reasonable. But then there would be only one possible explanation. That you have DID. How could you possibly be sure of that? Because I'm a psychiatrist. If I catch a glimpse of those symptoms, I can tell straight away. Psychiatrist? Well, I still wasn't convinced. But if she really was a psychiatrist, I can't argue back. I reflexively sank into silence. There we are. Sounds familiar. Yeah, I know them. I answered flustered. Lynn, she went out with me some time ago, and Yomogi-san is Sami-san's. I started speaking, but I stopped mid-sentence. How could I have forgotten something so important? Yomogi-san and Sami Kali were married. Yeah. In other words, the man who appeared in my dream was none other than Itsumi's husband. However, why did Itsumi decide to ask about him now? Why Izumi Lynn? The fact that Itsumi, I swear it's been spelled Utsami and now it's spelled Itsumi. I'm not sure if that's meant to be, I don't know. But Yomogi Saiji was of no surprise to me, but how did she know about Lynn? Right, that was, oh no, it is Itsumi. Never mind, I'm thinking of Usami from Danganronpa. Right, there wasn't a need to ask. You do know those two. Next question. You remember the incident? Yeah, I remember that too. She was probably referring to Flight Hell 18. At this point, you knew properly forces were. Okay. So I'm 95% in now. And now the explanation and stuff like that. And now for the other question, which was what caused my DID, if I remember right. Can I ask you just one more thing? Of course. How did I end up with something like DID? Not that I really believe that I have it, but Itsumi-san, you definitely think I do, right? I do. Then can you tell me? Itsumi-san, what do you think caused my DID? I don't know. Unless I could ask Yukidoh-kun himself directly. Yukidoh-kun himself, those words could be interpreted to mean that my personality now isn't the original. But if the question is, since when has Yukidoh-kun had it, then perhaps I can make an educated guess. Since when? Most likely since childhood. Basically, the symptoms of dissociative identity disorder came to light due to trauma experience in earlier childhood. It's extremely rare for symptoms to begin appearing in adulthood. So I'm sure too. Will that all be for now? Please call Uni-kun for me. Aye. You've been a big help. Thank you for telling me these things. Express my gratitude from the bottom of my heart. I left the room. Alright. Just stepped into the thingamajig. Okay. And there we go. 100%.